Hi, Gregg Perry, the historic preservationist. Welcome to we're actually in the wood shop. We're going back to the George Fick style from Reading, as we've done a few times. We may be interrupted by one of the Jack the Cat, but two things we have to recognize here. It looks possibly a little bit dirty. So, number one, the paint on these dials, generally speaking, is oil enamel, okay? So it's held up really well. I can see a lot of crazing, but it's not going anywhere. I see some loss right here. I'm going to have to I want to end up filling that up, leveling it, and then doing some in painting right there. What I'm trying to do now is in areas like this where it's dirty, I want to try to clean that. But we could have a problem here because we somewhere along the life of this dial, somebody could have come over and put a clear coat on it. And they could have locked in dirt, grime, environmental patina, interior environmental patina, such as right here. So we're going to challenge that. But if in fact they did lock it in, we're not going to try to undo it because it's part of its history. So I just want to take off any viable surface dirt. I'm going to be using a water-based detergent first for conservation purposes, and then an alcohol-based detergent. And we got Jack the Cat going to do a jump here. An alcohol-based we'll try also. But so what we have to be well aware of, and I've already tested it, is that sometimes these numerals, the globes, and the chapter rings were done in ink. Could be a disaster. Sometimes these dials come into me and there's nothing there because people say, oh, I think I'm going to clean that. And they clean it all off with water. So it's gone. But I already tested that, and you want to test it in a very obscure place, maybe just the tip right up here, just do a little bit of rubbing, see if it comes off with various solvents. I have 5 solvents I can use when I do oil painting restoration, oil as portraitures, things like that. So let's get on with it. So typically I have a roll of cotton. I'm out of roll of cotton, so I'm going to use some cotton balls. I just unroll the ball a little bit, and I take a skewer. It has a pointy end, and I wrap it around and lock it on. And I'm going to be using the water-based solvent here. I don't want to go on too wet in the beginning, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try up here on the moon dial. So let's just see. I mean, typically when I do this out of camera and I have the time this evening, I'm going to take the moon dial off. But I just want to show you. Now look at that. That's crazy. So it's a lot of dirt coming off. So let's let's take the cotton ball and let's try on the white portion of the dial. So again, unroll your cotton ball, engage it, and then roll it as tight as you can. Get a little bit of a swab on there, and pull, wind it up, and I just put my finger and I hold it there. So let's dip in to the water base. I'm going to wring it out. I don't want too much. So let's go over here. Let's head to the side. And again, I even tested over top of the gold. Somebody has put some kind of clear finish. And I unfortunately, I think it's a lacquer, but I think I'm getting something off here. No, just a tad bit, just a little bit, not much. So this environmental patina could be locked inside of the finish between the top coat that somebody's applied at a later date. So let's try number 2, solvent number 2. And a dial like this that I'm not getting a lot off of initially, you're going to put a couple hours into it, not a great deal of time, but you can just spruce it up a little bit. So solvent number 2, it's alcohol based with a chemical. I'm going to wring it out. Let's try down here a little lower because it's still wet there, but remember this is oil based, it's not going to hurt anything. Virtually nothing. So we're kind of zipping over a clear coat with this guy. And there's times when you don't have a clear coat and all this excess dirt around the perimeter is going to pop right up. See, there's a little bit there, not much. And don't be afraid when you're not getting a lot off. You can push. Now it's getting a fair amount off. So I honestly, I'd rather do this than be on the borderline of taking paint off or taking some of the numerals or some of the black off. You just don't want to be there. I don't want to be there because then you're overly cautious and you will make mistakes. There's no doubt about it. So this little area right here, it's a little bit cleaner, maybe 10-15%. Let's try this guy. Let's try this on the moon dial. Let's just see if we can pull anything else. So again, unwrap it. And you can buy these skewers with like in a swab form, and they already have the cotton on the ends. That way you don't have to hold it. First, I'm going to do the water. So let's do the water based. Now, what it looks to me is that whoever did this, look at that, whoever did the dial, the white portion of the dial, didn't put a clear coat on the moon dial. Maybe they didn't want to take the dial apart, possibly. So that could be. So this whole area, kind of in a triangle here in the arch, is very dirty. It's cleaned up a little bit. So let's just see if we move to the alcohol-based cleaner. And again, I have 3 others after this I can use, but it looks like I'll be very happy. I want to maintain some patinization on this. We're not trying to make it look new because, boy, we know, and I just made a mistake. I'm not thinking here. Um, the case is very far from looking new, that's for sure. Okay, alcohol. So let's go over where we just did the water-based detergent and see if we get a little more. So each subsequent 3, 4, and 5, look at this. So I'm pulling more off now. So I'm starting with something it's, I want to be very careful with. And, when I go into the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, if I chose to go that far, I have to be heavily concentrated and looking light and sometimes under magnification that I'm not pulling something off. So there you go. A lot more dirt. And this guy's going to really lighten up. So there you go. So that's considerably lighter than over here. So quite a bit of dirt. And again, probably this could be 2, maybe 3 hours by being very careful. So Gregg Perry signing off. Don't forget that we have a podcast at the Historic Preservationists on Spotify and Apple, approaching 1,000 different episodes. So look us up there. Thanks all for viewing.